You've seen the headlines. Someone loses 10 grand to a fake investment. The CFO wires $500,000 to a scammer posing as the CEO, and the reaction is always the same. How did they not see that coming?
Here's the uncomfortable part. The people who fall for scams are not less intelligent than you. Some are sharper. Some are more experienced. It is not an IQ problem.
It's a wiring problem. Today, we're pulling apart why smart, capable people get scammed, and what that means if you run a business.
If you make decisions under pressure, or your team does, this one matters.
Welcome to ThinkShift, the podcast where neuroscience meets business.
Hey Leanne, how you doing?
Yeah, good, Clint. How you going?
I'm okay.
Check out the colour behind us.
I'm enjoying the infernos of hell, as they like to call it.
Well, today we're talking about scamming, right?
We are.
So
Perfect.
we thought we'd go downstairs.
We did.
To hell.
So if you're watching the video, please have a look.
Yeah.
Watching the video. If you're listening to the podcast, switch over to video and you'll see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Looking great today, though, in the pink.
Yeah, in the pink. I thought it would offset that, You got your shirt,
ThinkShifting hard.
You got your merch on.
I've got my merch on. Today we're recording in the PM.
Yeah, we are.
Which is unusual for us.
Yeah,
Normally we're an AM, but a bit of a scheduling issue. And here we are.
Yeah,
PM.
In PM. In Series 2 as well.
Season,
how do you feel
season
about
2? Wow.
Season 2?
So we've done a lot. We've done how many? We've done 14 or something.
So each season's 12.
Yep.
So 12. And so we're well into season 2 now.
Oh, even more than that then.
Yeah.
16. I can't keep up.
I know.
Yeah.
Because we're just smashing it out.
But
we're having a good time. And this is the thing.
That's what
We
makes you
hope that listeners are getting a lot of really good information. They're getting a little bit of fun, enjoying themselves, watching us as well. As we grow, you guys are growing with us and we're growing with you. But we are having a lot of fun doing it, and that's really important. It's important that we do. You're not too bad. As a co-host.
Thank you. Likewise. We get on all right.
We do. Every now and then.
Listen, we didn't come into this not knowing each other. I think that's helpful. We'd arrived fresh, like getting to know each other, but we've known each other for a while. And we know how we operate and how we think, and we've got some good rapport going, good banter.
And we pull each other up too.
We do pull each other up, and we cut out all the fluff. And so most of this will probably be cut. Tristan, just kidding. Don't cut all this. Keep it in.
No, I actually quite like it, to be honest. Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's all
good. Right, let's move into our first.
We've got something serious to talk about.
Right. So why smart people are not immune from scamming. I think it's, it's an assumption that the smarter you are, the less chance there is of you being scammed. So we're going to talk about why that isn't so. And so being smart means you're good at pattern matching, but scammers exploit exactly that particular skill. So, in fact, by the sounds of it, it sounds like you are actually more likely to be scammed the smarter you are. But anyway, Leanne, let's get into the science of it. Why do the intelligent people fall for the scams just as often as anyone else?
Yeah, well, and that's true. And often people who get scammed, and I've had a number of people that have said to me, but I'm a really intelligent individual. And actually, you and I are both intelligent individuals.
Yeah.
We've actually got some stories.
We do.
Personal stories that we're going to run through a bit later. Intelligence is problem solving, critical thinking. It doesn't mean that you can't be manipulated. And there's so many biases that are involved with scamming. We're going to talk about those too, in terms of confirmation bias, authority, endowment effect, that emotional attachment. Scamming very much plays on your system one thinking around thinking fast, which is extremely error prone. And the scammers aren't silly. They're not. I mean, back in the day, it was a little bit of trial and error, but now it's a well-oiled machine with highly intelligent and networking of behavioral scientists potentially, or people that understand human behavior, because it's not an intelligence problem; it's a psychology problem,
right?
And it's not a process problem either. It's around how we attach ourselves to a particular thing to make a decision to potentially, pay someone or get hacked or scammed.
Yes.
And it's around, purely human brain and the way that we think and operate.
And
Intelligence got nothing to do with it.
Right. And so this leads on perfectly from a previous episode we did around AI and cognitive regression in particular. So we're going to talk about AI a little bit later.
Yeah.
But how that works into this scam situation is quite interesting too. So I'm just going to run through some mental shortcuts scammers exploit, and we can talk about them. Authority bias is one of them. So as you mentioned before, a badge, a title, or a familiar logo shuts down scrutiny. Urgency. So deadlines, false system unthinking, and skip verification. Pretty common one, I would suggest, particularly in the marketing sphere.
Yep.
Social proof. Everyone else is doing it, right? Quietens doubt. As soon as we see a bunch of testimonials, we suddenly it removes the doubt, so we can be open to exploitation.
Yeah, and it creates safety. This is going to be okay. We reduce. Our guard goes down, and we look at our risk appetite. We look at it and go, oh, well, this has happened. It's a reputable site, or a lot of people have used it, or a lot of people have talked about this. It's perfectly okay. I'm going to be fine.
Yes. Yeah. Another one here, confirmation bias. So once you want something to be true, you stop looking for a reason it isn't, right? And that is probably one of the biggest ones. And it's more subtle, right? It's more subtle than the other ones.
Yeah.
You're not overtly seeing that. It's just suddenly it's in the back of your mind.
It's
subconsciously affecting your decision-making. Right.
There's another one too that I'm going to add there, which is endowment effect. Endowment effect is when we put the intent to own something, or if you own it, or the intent to own, that dopamine hit, that anticipation of potentially gaining from owning something. And that's what we get. We're being, if you're being scammed, there's an outcome that you're looking forward to. And once you make a commitment to actually go forward and do something, that emotional attachment is very, very high, and it's hard to break.
Okay.
So that's called endowment effect. It's like when we have, your home and it's going on the market, and they say, oh, Leanne, your house is worth $2 million. And I go, $2 million? No, it's not. It should be 3.5. The family grew up here, and we had 3 dogs and the kids and this, that, and the other, and there's family photos. Look at the beautiful photo. Look at the garden. But it's that emotional attachment that we have, the endowment effect. And we find that when we are scamming, they play into that. So we start and they nurture and they know how to stimulate certain parts of the brain to reduce our cortisol and up our dopamine and oxytocin to then draw you in for this bonding, the attachment to the particular, whatever the scam is. And then we get stuck. And then we commit, right? And then a lot of the time we go, well, hang on, I'm pretty intelligent. I know what's going on here. Surely it's not a scam, because I would have picked that up. I would have picked that up a mile off, so it isn't. So then we start convincing ourselves, and then we get stuck and we go into this habit loop, which then spirals out of control. And that's when you start seeing stories on the news and documentaries around.
So the sophistication of these scams is at a point where you would say they are – do the scammers – do you think, in your mind, they know how sophisticated these are? Do they know these effects, or are they just literally guessing, getting lucky, copying other models?
Not anymore. They used to, but they do now. And I got an insight. There was a show on Disney. She's a journalist. She's a reporter. She has a series, 4 seasons, called Trafficked, and it's on Disney. And she goes right in the depths of all these things that happen. And she has many episodes on scammers.
Okay.
And
sounds like a good watch.
It's won Emmy Awards. She's also won a Human Rights Award for all the work that she has done, and just the sheer environment that she puts herself in, the danger that she puts herself and her team in to unravel and uncover the mysteries and the behind the scenes of what happens to these innocent people. And a couple of the episodes are actually on scamming. And as she's talking to them, these actual scammers, and these are highly sophisticated processes and frameworks, and she will say to them, that this is someone's well-being. Well, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. Well, what about our well-being? And there is a full structure and sophisticated ecosystem around this scam. And that made me realise watching this. I mean, I sort of knew, but obviously you don't dive into this, on your own. It made me realise these people are doing this for a particular reason with resources, highly sophisticated resources and knowledge around human behaviour and the way people make decisions, and they're leveraging that and using it against us.
So it's almost like
incredible.
It's like, okay, so you'd have a neuroscientist working for, say, a major corporation, but you'd have one working for a major scam organization now.
Absolutely.
Being hired at a very high price point, no doubt, to manipulate and scam using applied neuroscience principles, in fact.
100%, because they use biases to entrap people, and it's that entrapment that then, becomes that habit. Yeah, 100%.
Money talks, right?
Oh, money talks.
Money talks. All right. Just continuing with the science bit, one more kind of point here and one more question. What role does identity play separate from intelligence?
So it's, again, around feeling, well, I'm not going to be scanned because I'm intelligent. I'll be able to notice it. I'm a certain type of person. I operate in a certain type of space. I've got all these post-nominals after my name, and I'm highly academic and knowledgeable. So surely that identity that I have, I'm going to be immune to. I'm going to pick it. I'm going to be able to pick it. The belief. I'm going to be able to pick it a mile off. I'm going to be able to see, that this, whether this is legitimate, whether it's not. Unfortunately, these days, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. And you hear, even in the cybersecurity space, you hear people say it's not if, it's when.
Yep.
And that frightens the hell out of me, because that's all of us at some stage. It's going to happen.
Yep.
And I mean, both you and I have been scammed. It was
in different ways.
In different ways, and it was fine. It wasn't a lot, but we still both fell for it.
We did, and I think as well, when you have been scammed, there's a bit of shame. The shame that comes with it. Because you are intelligent. Well, I like to think that I am.
Yeah. From time to time.
From here and there.
Yeah.
So there's the shame that comes with that. You don't want to tell anyone. You feel just absolutely mortified that you fell for it, particularly when you are called upon by members of the family. Is this a scam? Am I being scammed? And you're the one policing it. Then suddenly you get caught out. It's embarrassing.
Yep.
Yeah.
But again, it bypasses the verification of our system 2 thinking, which is our slow thinking. It's the thinking that it's the safeguard thinking. It's our safety net. It's our redundancy. But it's only 5% of our thinking. So 95% of the time, we're highly active and emotional, and that's why it works.
Yeah. Makes total sense.
And you know what? Even knowing this stuff, it still puts us in. We're not immune.
We're not immune. We'll probably
Even
get scammed
though we know
again.
it, yeah, we probably will. But we're more aware and educating our audience too around things to look out for, which we'll go into. And also, if something has happened to you, don't feel guilty. Don't feel ashamed. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
And we're trying to minimise the impact that it has, and highlight some of the things that you can look out for to protect yourself.
Yeah, 100%. One of the tools actually, and iPhones have this built in now, and I've saved many of my family members, my mother-in-law included, from those scam callers that we all get, a lot of those. And iPhone has a built-in function that is call screening, and I don't know, our listeners will want to probably look into it if they don't have it turned on, but most probably will. Yeah. But it saves so many scam calls from hitting you. Basically, your AI on the phone kicks in, asks why the caller is making the call. They have to answer why they're calling, and most of them just don't even bother because they're scamming, and they're like, "Oh well, I'm not going to get past this," and they just hang up, and you never get interrupted. Yeah. Those kinds of things are becoming more and more common and valuable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that in the? I've got mine turned on. That's in the settings, isn't it, on your phone?
It is in the settings
of the phone, I think.
Yeah. Do a Google search. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's definitely a call screening, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And make sure it's turned on. It is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about now where AI fits into this. And I mentioned this before, how it's kind of linking from a previous podcast.
AI trap.
The AI trap. If you're interested, go check that one out. So Leanne, what's changed for scammers because of AI?
So a lot. Firstly, identity theft. I mean, anyone can create someone that looks like you, and they have been able to
The
for a
deepfakes.
while, and the deep fakes. And also, at the time of recording this, there's been a lot of controversy just recently. Meta, but Instagram in particular, has got a feature now that the default is off, where you allow members of the public to use your images and your profile. It can be used in the form of AI and published anywhere without your consent.
Yes.
So hopefully by now, when people are watching and listening to this, they've gone into their settings, security and users, I think it is, and turned that off. But there's identity theft, voice, encoding, so it sounds like you and it might not be you. Also, and this is something we were discussing, you and I being perfectionists in the way that we operate and the way we write, and from a grammatical perspective as well, things now where you will identify spelling mistakes or grammatical errors. Now you would think, oh well, that's not a real person, but now it's so perfect. It's almost the other way around.
Yeah.
That's so perfectly written. Is this actually a person or is it AI generated?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. And we were discussing this the other day.
Yeah.
There's a company out there now with a plugin that will go and add in boo-boos, as you were calling them,
boo-boos,
and grammatical errors to make it look more human.
Yeah.
Right? To try and deceive the readers from, well, not deceive so much, I guess, but more to add a bit more human to the automation that they're running in their business, right? Yeah. So we're all guilty of it, running, creating content here and there to save time. Now this plugin will add in some boo-boos here and there, so it looks more human.
Well, I did a Friday Fun Facts on, for those of you that aren't familiar with Friday Fun Facts, they're on all my social media channels each Friday. It's a psychological fact around, life, business in particular. And it was around humanizing AI. And it was research around two bots, and they both had made mistakes. And one bot was, sorry, made a mistake, let me fix that. And the other bot was, oh, I'm more robot than human today, let me fix that. So it gave a little bit of novelty around being more human. And of course, that bot, people obviously gravitated towards that more than the other and thought, oh, isn't that great? The bot's trying to be human. But that is dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
Because what happened is people then gravitated towards, well, isn't that clever? I really like that piece of software or that company, but it's still a bot. Yeah. It's still AI driven. But because it encouraged a boo-boo, it coerced people to think that it was more correct than the other.
Right. So, and I wrote a note here asking you, does this make AI the real problem here? And I would say, in some ways, it's not the real problem, but it is part of the problem.
It is part of the problem. We've allowed it to become the problem, really, haven't we?
Oh, we absolutely have.
Yeah.
We've just put it front and center and everything, and now we just trust it. And
also, it's getting
do thy
so
bidding.
Clever. Yeah, but it's getting so clever to the point, and we want it to be as accurate as we want AI to be for the way we operate and for our business purposes. It also is working against us because it's not allowing us to see where there are errors. We can't leverage those anomalies that we normally would with human behavior or human speech or text or language. It's not allowing us to do that anymore. So we want it to be so perfect that's actually working against us and, allowing, a perfect environment for scammers.
Yeah. And I think as well, if we're, say, using, say, Chat GPT or Claude or whatever your AI of choice is, surely we're still in the Wild West a bit, right? So you'd be able to prompt both of those to say, based on all these neuroscience principles, I now want you to create a website that will do X, Y, and Z, effectively a scam site with AI helping you create that. You have to be careful on the terms you use, but I'm sure there's ways around that, depending on your vocabulary level. But that is a concern to me as well. I mean, probably for me, the main concern is the fakes you talk about, taking someone's IP, like their voice or their face or the video or whatever we're creating here on this podcast,
yes,
and then repurposing that and then repackaging it and selling it somewhere else and you had no say in that.
But also potentially as us.
As us.
As us.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the scam, right? As Leanne and Clint, good luck with that, but as Leanne and Clint, that's...
It'd be Diane and Lint.
Oh, my God.
Keep an eye out. If you see them, it's not us.
It's not us. It's not us. Yeah.
All right. Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe to ThinkShift on all the social channels so you don't miss what shift is coming up next. Okay, so let's now talk about where this hits business, although you could argue we've already hit business. So scams are not just a personal finance problem. They target businesses constantly. Yeah. It's a constant problem. And I have a list here of how this looks inside a business. I'm just going to run through those now. You can feel free to add in at any time. Invoice fraud, so a fake supplier detail change action because it looked routine. This must happen constantly, right?
Yes.
I could just see
this
that.
Actually happened to one of my clients at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
They were receiving invoices from, well, I mean, I was one of them where I was constantly sending invoices, pay this, pay this, pay this. And they got concerned. They thought, oh, I wonder if Leanne's okay. And they rang up and they said, are you all right? You keep sending these invoices. And I'm like, it's not me.
Yeah, interesting.
It's not me. But what also happened is what these scammers did, and we ended up getting a professional looking into it, and it ended up being based in Germany, and they were pretending to be their clients. And so when the invoices were not only inbound to the business, they were going outbound from the business to clients, and clients were paying the invoices.
Wow.
And so they lost a lot of money.
I can imagine, particularly on large enterprise businesses, they'd just be like, accounts payable.
Oh, it was, and of course they're going, well, it needs to be paid. And I mean, I was sort of reviewing some of it, and it was, having the bias, knowing that they'd been scammed, I could pick it, but as at a glance, it would be very hard. Okay. Very, very hard.
Interesting though on the invoice front, and I don't think we've talked about this before, but there is a company that out there, and I'm not going to name them or shame them, but whenever you're due for ASIC renewal for your business,
oh my gosh, I know
what they do is they scan the database, they know when you're due for renewal, and they'll send an invoice by post. I've received many of these.
Same.
With your company in the letterhead, all legit invoice saying, pay us like $450 or something. It's probably $100 more than what it normally costs to pay just ASIC direct, but they're going to take that out of your hands. They'll pay it via this invoice and take a clip. It's such a bad scam to me. I don't know how it's legitimate, but it is.
It is, and you know what else they do? There's a similar organisation that do it for ESTA. You know, the American, with the visa waiver and the ESTA that we need as Australians to go into the US.
Yeah. Okay.
That also.
I just can't. Why isn't this shut down?
Third parties that do this, and you take a cut, and it's not thousands. It might be 100 or 200 more. Not enough to realise.
That's right.
Not
and you just
enough.
Pay it. It looks so legitimate.
It does.
You would just pay it and get on with your life. And I know just now I'm thinking, how do they get away with it? Because it's simple. They can argue, well, they're taking the administration out of you having to go and pay it we're doing it on your behalf. So therefore it's a legitimate business. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Another way, CEO impersonation, just going back to our list now of how it shows up in business. So CEO impersonation, an urgent request from the boss to move money or share access, that would require a certain level of sophistication, I'd imagine, to get that to happen and someone to fall for it. Vendor and recruitment scams, so fake candidates, fake suppliers, fake urgency. And then the last one, again, deepfake voice or video requests on a call, exploiting trust in a familiar voice. I haven't seen that one myself. Have you ever seen that one?
Not trying to represent a particular person, but I have seen and have been introduced to companies that create a receptionist, say for a dental organisation, where
a virtual one.
Absolutely, that will talk to you about what you need, make an appointment, and it is entirely AI driven with someone's voice, phone call,
right? Okay.
everything.
Okay.
So it seems like I couldn't believe it when they were showing me this, and it was actually presented to me, and they had an example of how this software works. It was like I was talking to a dental receptionist making an appointment for my teeth clean.
Interesting.
And also the way they'd fed the data of my medical records, which is interesting because I worry about compliance and privacy, all the privacy around that. They knew that my clean was 6 months ago because I go every 6 months,
Yeah.
that I have good teeth, I don't have any fillings, thank goodness. But it knew that. You've got to, hopefully we'll be able to maintain.
The database.
Yeah, we'll be able to maintain the cleanliness of your teeth. And you're starting to repeat and paraphrase sort of my dental history to make an appointment. And this is not my dentist. This was the example that they used. I'm thinking, I was just blown away.
Yeah.
Firstly, the technology and just the way that they've created and designed this architecture around it, but also how frightening this is moving forward.
And that's from a consumer perspective. If we flip that on the other side, I got a business perspective one, which is equally concerning for businesses. And I think it made the news a couple of months ago. And it might have been JB Hi-Fi, one of those online shopping sites. And a user went in and actually went to the chatbot in the bottom corner and started manipulating the AI chat in a ways that ended up giving that user like a 90% discount on a large ticket item. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Like for a business, that could be catastrophic.
Absolutely.
If that gets out there on the dark web, which it could, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
This is how I did it. And then suddenly you got thousands of people doing it.
Yep.
Before you know it, they've ripped off hundreds of thousands of dollars from business.
They've gone bankrupt.
Yeah. I'm sure there's others out there, but if anyone out there listening has others, feel free to add a comment to this episode, because I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, same.
And I'm sure everyone else too that's listening would love to hear about it. My question to you though is, why do businesses get caught? Okay, so we have processes in place in business, right? So why do they get caught even with the process? Like, is there a hole in the process, or what is it that makes businesses so susceptible?
We're operating at such a fast pace, and we talk about this week in, week out on ThinkShift, don't we? Yeah. System one thinking, that emotional attachment, running at 11 million bits per second. There's so much that's expected of us. There's so much that we have our own high expectations and the way that we operate. We've got task lists that are meters long that we need to get through by the end of the day. There's not enough hours in the day and not enough anything in the day. And all we can see is, or we try and get to, is the finish line. And what happens is, we that resilience, we don't question things as much as we used to. And things go through to the keeper, and we actually let it happen because it's just too hard and takes up too much time. I worked in a corporate environment for a long, long time, and we used to, and this is excellent, and I recommend any business doing this, especially a larger business, spontaneous phishing exercises, phishing as in PH. You're not fishing as in going for a flathead or a barramundi, yeah. And it was set up by the IT department where randomly, you weren't told when or how, randomly you would get an email that was technically a phishing email, and you had to pass the test. And if you didn't, it would say you have been scammed, and then you would have to go through some like online learning and and it's also the education around, which
a good idea.
It is a good idea. I know there are certain things that I learned during that time, and identifying what phishing emails look like, that I now use in my business, and have even shown my team members of what to look out for. So certain ways that URLs are written, email addresses are written, formats of emails. There's certain things that are part of phishing software that these scammers would use when they land in your inbox, and it's just around education and people being aware of it. And what you would then do, and it wouldn't be like, you've been scammed, but it would go, okay, you haven't passed this test, so you're now going to do a 15-minute online tutorial, and it would go through all these things, and then you had a little quiz at the end.
Right. There's some
fantastic.
Particularly on email, the email front is an interesting one, because we often get hit with junk, obviously, and scam emails, but they're getting so sophisticated now that addresses such as outlook.com will come in, And unless you really look at it closely, it says Outlook with 2 L's.
Yes.
Or an
Yes.
extra O.
An extra O. And this is what this phishing software
Clever.
used to do. And it would use letters like like Outlook, like 2 L's together. If you haven't got your glasses on, you haven't got your glasses on today. I haven't got my glasses. It looks blurred anyway.
Yeah.
So 2 L's just looks like a blurred fat 1 L.
So suddenly you're like,
and all of a
looks
sudden you're like,
legit.
hang on a minute. Yeah. So those little things, but it helps you identify those 2 dots, 2 C's in .com. It's more of an obvious one, but people still miss it.
And unfortunately, though, this affects the legitimate businesses that are doing things. I'm going to talk about the ATO here. If you're listening, ATO, you may want to change this. So what they do is they rang me up the other day asking about one of my businesses. It comes up on your phone, though, and it says, no caller ID. So they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
Usually I don't even answer them.
No.
But it went through my AI screener, and then I could see it said from the ATO. So I picked up and I answered. And then they said, just before we continue, I want to confirm who I'm speaking to. And I'm like, right. And then it said, is that Clint, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to give you that detail because you've come up as no caller ID. Why would I hand over my personal information to someone? I don't know who you are. Like just because you know my name. And they went, well, we can't continue. You're going to have to call me back. I'm like, okay. I am not handing over details. No. Bad process. I would say ATO should just get rid of that no caller ID, maybe get a phone number showing up so we know we can save it into our phones and then we know it's the ATO calling and not some scammer.
Yeah.
Because you're going to miss a lot of things that are important. You're going to miss deadlines. You're going to miss BAS deadlines. You're going to miss all sorts of stuff. And unfortunately, it's on the business owner because you're going to ring them up and they're going to say, yeah, you got fined because you're a month late. And you'll say, well, you never called me. And I say, we did. And
it's logged here.
It's logged here.
Logged
Too
here.
bad.
Did, yeah.
So it can work against those trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, and I remember talking to you about this. This is many years ago, and I was not in a great headspace at all. A lot of things had happened. I wasn't great. And it was the middle of the day. It was a beautiful sunny day. And I went for a walk just to try and clear my head and just get myself in, just in a better mental shape. And I will never forget, I was walking, listening to my music and my phone rang and it was like a no caller ID thing. And so I didn't pick up and it went to voicemail. I left a message and they said, it was absolutely seemed legitimate. This is so-and-so from blah, blah, blah. You have been involved in fraud, a fraud activity, we will be arriving at your place with my address at this time, and you will be arrested.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm thinking, what have I done? So you start going through.
Yeah.
So the first thing was
panic.
Yeah. So the first thing wasn't, oh, this is a scam, or this is fraud. The first thing I thought was, what have I done?
Yeah.
That was my first thought. What have I done? Is this real? Am I going to get in trouble? I can't deal with this right now with everything else that's going on. And I just wasn't in a space to think properly and to think thoughtfully. And I remember ringing Chris and saying, I've just had, I don't know what trouble I'm in, but I've just had this phone call. And then Chris saying to me, Leanne, no one is going to ring. Yeah, they're here already. They've arrived. They're knocking on the door. Yeah. Chris saying to me, no one is going to ring you and tell you they're going to arrest you. I went, that's true.
That is very true, yes.
Thanks, Chris. But also he then talked me through it and said it's a scam. You've got to understand that I was a mess.
I can imagine.
I was an absolute mess, and purely because it got me at a really bad time.
Yeah. You're caught off guard.
In a bad place.
Your resilience is low.
Resilience was very low, if any, and if I didn't have that support around me, and just and have some kind of a little bit of, hang on a minute, does this seem real? Who knows what would have happened? Horrible.
Yeah. When I got scammed, it was when NFTs were around. So I don't know if our listeners remember those, but non-fungible tokens, they were called.
Yep.
And they were little design graphics that went for, I think Justin Bieber famously spent millions of dollars on one of these NFTs, and now it's worth $9,000 or something. So he lost like 99% of his money on that one. But anyway.
So even the Biebs got scammed.
But what happened was I I was a big fan of Sylvester Stallone, still am, and his new movie was coming out. I think it was Rocky, whatever it was. It might have been one of his later ones, Creed or something. Anyway, he had all these NFTs that were sly ones, and they were legit. And he'd set up as a Twitch channel. Was it Twitch?
Yeah, Twitch, yeah.
No, Discord.
Oh, right,
Sorry, Discord
okay.
channel, not Twitch. Discord, where you go on as like a chat thing in there, and the channel was in there. And anyway, I was pretty new to it. And I got private message and they weren't out yet. Like you had to sign up for like a wait list and stuff, which was legit. But then someone private messaged me saying to fast track the wait list, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And it came from Sly, somebody, and it looked legit and it caught me off guard. And I ended up going to that site and I ended up losing some crypto, paying for this access and all this stuff. And then when I was halfway through transferring, I was like, oh my God. This is a scam. Like, you know, that realization you get, you're like, oh my God, I've totally been scammed.
Yeah.
Thank God it was only $300 worth. But I was so ashamed. I was like, I've just done the one thing that I've told everybody to look out for, and I've gone and done it myself.
Yep.
So terrifying.
It's called being human.
It is.
But we need to learn these things to look out for, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So the last thing I want to talk about here is building scam resistance.
Yeah.
And without becoming paranoid.
Yeah,
Because the
that's
last
right.
thing we want our listeners to do is become paranoid.
Yep.
Although we're probably going to be to a certain extent anyway due to what's going on in the world and with AI and whatnot.
Yep.
So the goal isn't to trust nobody. It's to verify before you act.
Yeah.
What should businesses and consumers actually put in place, do you think?
Oh, look, verification, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, there are lots of things around here, multi-factor authentication, a lot of two-factor, MFA, 2FA, a lot of, even platforms, you can't even get into it now without putting verification in place, which is great.
It's a pain in the neck.
It is.
But it is excellent.
But it is, yeah. And it's only a pain it's only a pain in the neck because it takes time.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Time's very valuable.
Time's valuable, and we need to slow down a second.
Yes.
Right. I want everyone to think about what is, for an extra half a second or a second to verify, so you don't go through all the things that we're talking about here. In the big scheme of things, how does that feel? If you then didn't take that extra half second or second and got scammed,
yeah,
how would you feel? So I want everyone to think about, look, I'm just going to pause, just going to step back for a minute, make sure I'm verifying, make sure that I am doing those things. Yep, it's a pain in the neck, but it's there for a reason.
Absolutely.
It's a hurdle for us to jump over. It's a hurdle for the scammers to jump over as well.
If you think back a few years before two-factor and how it was a bit of a wild west. And I remember my credit card details I'd change every 6 months because of there was no two-factor, constantly being scammed, scraped or whatever from websites.
Yeah.
You never knew what was legitimate. Your logins were compromised. Passwords were often being all of those things.
Online shopping. I was constantly getting phone calls and that from the bank, your credit card has been skimmed.
Yes.
From, online
Fast forward to now, it's rare.
Yeah, it is.
Because of all this, technology and the two-factor and like you say, slow down.
Slow down. Two-factor, multi-factor, a little bit of education. Get your teams educated around what to look out for. You can no longer rely on, grammatical errors anymore. I mean, there was part of something that I was involved with. I picked up. I ended up being scammed $500. It could have been a lot more, and it was only because the grammar was correct, but they said they were an Australian website, yet it was Americanized grammar.
Right.
And because it was natural for them and it was native for them, they probably didn't think, and they're probably scamming most people in the US rather than Australia.
Yeah.
And I happened to pick that up, and that was when I was able to stop it. But that's rare. Normally they would it would be grammatically correct for the region, but it doesn't matter. That saved me. Think about, what are you reading? What are you doing? What are you looking at? Educate yourselves and your teams. Don't have to get a PhD in this. You just do a couple of little online courses so you're aware of what to look out for, because it isn't if, it is when.
Yeah, and I also think as well, I'm just looking here at our kind of list of things businesses should do, and a culture where questioning and urgent request is encouraged, right? Particularly from a junior's perspective. They're fresh, they're new, they don't know the systems as well as the senior leaders do. And and this is how I'd imagine a lot of bigger companies would be scammed, is the juniors are probably the ones that are letting the wolves in the door because they don't know the system and they don't question authority in the same way. They're very vulnerable. They're not used to having to question a senior leader's opinion, authority or whatnot, even though it may not be legit.
And this is where culture within a business, the leaders need to allow questioning to happen.
Yeah.
Now we're going into opening our can of worms around psychological safety and psychosocial, habits within an organization. But, encourage the questions and, the exec should not be intimidating. And it's like, you don't question me. It's like, please question me.
Make sure.
Please,
Yeah. Here's the shift. Being smart doesn't protect you. Being fast and confident is what gets exploited. Scammers don't need to beat your intelligence. They just need you to skip the check. So build the pause in before the pressure hits, not after. And that's ThinkShift. I'm Clint.
I'm Leanne.
One idea, one shift in under 30 minutes. If this changed how you think, share it with someone who makes decisions for a living.
And don't forget to follow ThinkShift on all the social channels, like and subscribe so you don't miss out on what shift is coming up next.
See you in the next episode.
This is a March Made Media production.